For 10 months, Caitlin Geiger-Bardswich has been working from her Ottawa home to fight a pandemic, but not COVID-19. Some have called it the shadow pandemic, domestic violence, a threat making lockdown a dangerous time for women. The federal minister for women put it starkly.
And his most powerful tool, isolation, is now endorsed by the state.
The government knew it had to get money to women's shelters, fast, but how? Soon the phone rang at Women's Shelters Canada. Would they take on distributing $20 million to their network of 500 shelters?
It was the largest amount of money we've ever received in our bank account.
Women's Shelters Canada does research and advocacy, not funding. This was entirely new, but they got to work.
You know, as only 5 people, we were a small but mighty team, and that we could do it if we put in a bit of the extra hours, like we could physically do it.
They contacted shelters like this one in Shediac, New Brunswick, where the funds helped pay for PPE and more staff to answer desperate calls.
If they're not able to leave the house and the perpetrator's there, you know, they're making a phone call to us and hiding in their closet. So it becomes really difficult.
Women's Shelters Canada distributed between $32,000 and $90,000 to shelters, depending on what services each offered. The only exceptions were shelters in Indigenous communities and in Quebec, which also got money, but through a different process. People who work in the sector are applauding how quickly the money flowed and the way it slashed away red tape.
It was historic, where, they had this money and needed to disperse it to all the shelters across Canada. It was a unique process.
A process that's soon to be repeated. There is more money to come before Christmas, after the federal government announced a further $50 million to shelters and sexual assault centres. Shayna Luck, CBC News, Halifax.